Find us on the web at smacology.42web.io. There you can find our latest episode, or you can support the podcast by following our affiliate links at the top of the page. You can even buy some awesome Smacking Off merchandise. Again, that is smacology.42web.io.
We're here at Commonwealth Stadium, representing for the Kentucky Wildcats, right against Georgia Bulldogs, right? And I'm live here, and there's fun and excitement going on. I know you can see that. This is Smacking Off, the podcast.
Hi, we're Fiverr, a global marketplace connecting individuals and businesses with freelancers offering thousands of digital services. Graphic design, web development, video editing, e-commerce marketing. You name it, there's a professional freelancer ready to make it happen. Filter your search by the service needed, budget, timeline, and boom! Fiverr provides a list of talented freelancers to meet your specific needs. Always know what you'll pay up front. No hourly rates, just project-based pricing. And because payment isn't released until you approve the work, you can rest assured that you'll be satisfied with the quality and get exactly what you want. Our support team is always available to answer questions or offer assistance when you need it. With the whole world of freelance talent at your fingertips, what might you achieve? Join today and find out. Fiverr. It starts here.
Holloway, the leading rusher for Oklahoma, almost 5.5 a carry, has -8 on 5 rushes. Home run ball. Jackson has it.
And now,
Smacking Off the podcast.
What's going on, guys?
What's up?
Hey, is this Smacking Off the podcast or Friday Night Lights?
Friday Night Lights. Why not?
Not yet.
Hell yeah.
What?
It's football eve.
That's
Yes.
right. Everybody works.
Yeah, we got real football starting tomorrow. I mean, not that many games that are noteworthy, but
It's week
What's
0,
no-
right? Week 0.
so yeah, let's go ahead and jump in really fast. What's noteworthy tomorrow? Anybody?
Georgia Tech,
Got-
Florida State.
Florida State, Georgia Tech. You know, that that game may be more interesting than people think. I'm not sold on the Seminoles quarterback position, and Georgia Tech. They were really up and down last year, but they were real competitive against some good teams.
Well, I can assure you, just like Nikki Mays, I am definitely pulling for Georgia Tech.
100.
Me too. Absolutely.
Georgia Tech by 20.
What time is that game?
Looks like at noon Eastern.
Yeah, it's early.
We're going to be eating breakfast and watching football out here.
I guess it'll be later over in where's this game at in Ireland?
Yeah.
Nikki, I forget. Where are you again?
New Mexico.
Yeah, that one would not have guessed that.
Yeah. So we have 10 o'clock football tomorrow. I'll take it.
Did you live in Texas at one point, Nikki?
Yeah, we go back and forth. We're actually getting ready next week to head back to Stephenville.
I remember many years ago, it was a Friday night game. Texas Tech at New Mexico, ESPN or one of the ESPN channels. And, the place was sold out, and Rod Gilmore was saying, before the game, this place is geeked for this game tonight. And they lost 49-0 at home.
Damn.
Well, New Mexico State beat Auburn last year, and this town is like not a college sports town like it should be. Like me and James went and drove around like waiting to see if there was a riot or if they were burning cars because most
Are you in the town where New Mexico State is?
Yeah.
I forget what it's called. Las Cruces.
Las Cruces. This campus is like 5 miles from us? And there was nothing. It was dead. Like dead quiet.
Damn it, Jim.
Yeah, it was sad.
What's it like to live there?
It sucks. Lots of
because
sand, no water.
what?
Lots of sand, but no water.
Oh goodness.
Yeah.
Ain't there some petroglyphs, like a petroglyph state park nearby there, Nikki?
Is there a petroglyph state park close to here? The Gilas?
Yeah.
Yeah. You've been.
Yeah, it's cool. It's not just petroglyphs, it's ruins.
Oh, it's complete ruins.
They got
Yeah.
they do these cables into the mountain.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, my wife and I, we explore places like that on our journeys out west. And we looked at several sites that were both Hopewell and Hopi and Anasazi throughout New Mexico.
Yeah, there's a bunch. But yeah, it's blah. I mean, it's beautiful. You have the Oregon Mountains as your backdrop, but that's about it. When it comes to sports, they said there was nothing. They just beat Auburn.
Damn.
Nothing.
I'm sorry. I'm looking at Dr. Balls. I think the beard's getting a little thicker.
Yeah, I'm getting ready to fucking take her down a little bit tomorrow. I've gotten I'm almost like Santa Claus or Moses over here, right?
Okay.
You know, I'm looking like I belong on a Kansas album from the mid '70s. You know.
Hey, now Kansas is badass.
Oh, Kansas is awesome, man. They're awesome. So the musicianship was just plumb off the hook. It was unbelievable. You ever heard "Song for America"? You know, you ever remember "Song for America," Doug?
I do.
So that's a great song, and it's got a lot of.
I only know it because it was on their greatest hits.
Yes,
I didn't ever have the album that it was actually originated.
Doug, have you thought about remodeling your house?
No, this is the look I'm looking for.
All righty.
After it was remodeled, you should have seen it a few years ago.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that's the home office ad. You know that, right?
Yeah, the front was burned down a few years ago, but me and Bob built it back when he came to Birmingham last year.
That's right.
Okay.
We got it back in operation so we could have our meeting at Tennessee Bailey. Down here.
We have Tarleton State tomorrow with McNeese. That's a big game. Now that's
Are there any good?
town.
What about night games?
No.
I just had them up. Let's see what we got here. So we got at noon. We've got Florida State and Georgia Tech. All right, we've talked about that. Montana State at New Mexico at 4 p.m. Eastern.
That's kind of interesting.
Yes, I think it is interesting because
There was another one that was.
Yes, there's more. We just was getting ready to talk about SMU at Nevada is very interesting because SMU
That's the one.
has some talk about some Big 12 glory in it, and they so that could be or ACC I should say. I can't believe I put them in the Big 12, even though it would have made more sense to put them in the Big 12. But then you got Delaware State at Hawaii at midnight Eastern, 11:59 p.m. It says so. I don't know if y'all can see this, but it says it's at 11:59 Eastern. Now, why would you put on 11:59? Why wouldn't you just call it noon, right? And then have somebody have commercials till midnight.
I'll tell you what I would love to do. I would love to go to a game in Missoula in the middle of winter.
My God, that'd be fun to play. You know,
Yeah.
you ever play sandlot football in the snow, Ed?
Oh yeah.
Oh, I enjoy that very much. And I was a kid. That's how we spent our winters playing sandlot football in the snow before I moved to Okeechobee. And I really enjoyed it. But it's tough on you when you get older, right? You suffer. As a kid, you never get cold, right?
Right.
But when you're fucking 20 years old and you're in Missoula, Montana, and there's 3 foot of snow, it might be tough.
You ever do like 1-against-1 with a permanent quarterback?
Oh, yeah. I'm every way you can play satellite football possible. And then I'll always be the all-time quarterback, like in my neighborhood, right? And, we know who gets Bobby. Oh, we get Bobby. No, we get Bobby. I'm like, oh, man, just make me the all-time quarterback. Fuck it. Right?
Yeah, if they used the K2 in the NFL, I'd have made it.
And yeah, that's how basketball works for me too. Like if I showed up at the park in Lexington, they'd be like, "Oh, there's Arthur, right? Oh, who's going to pick him?" And I'd be like, "Hey, let's just play 21, and whoever wins it can. The top 2 will be the captains." Because there was another guy named Mark Edwards, as a black guy, I know he's a fabulous player, 6'6", all kinds of athleticism, and he was kind of They never would let us play on the same team at the park. They thought it wasn't fair, but that's because I was just setting him up for alley-oops from half court. I didn't have to do nothing, right? You know, and Usually, but that's the way satellite football is too. You know, so I was always a tall, skinny guy, and I got a pretty good arm, and so therefore it was. I could see it real good, and I didn't care to get hit. Everybody wanted to hit me because I love to talk
Well, you
about.
know, when I was young, I was tall and skinny, and then I found weed.
I found weed too a long time ago, but I love these. The idea that we're having an early season matchup that might have season implications here, guys. Then because Florida State they fussed a lot about what happened to them, and it was kind of unfair. And in 12, other than the fact that they wasn't, I didn't feel that they were that great, but they went undefeated. They probably feel like that they probably feel like that they did everything they were supposed to do, and they should have got in. But you can't believe that and then lay out of the main game and get crushed by Georgia.
But by the time it came around, we were looking at they had lost players for injury, even leading up to, their championship game. They had lost so many players at that point. Everyone knew it was not going to be a pretty matchup. Whoever they put him up against.
If they had a championship caliber team, they would have lined up against Georgia and gave it their all.
I agree with you. That's why
But I think if Travis Jordan doesn't get hurt, they get in.
They probably do.
And they had a few other key players hurt, and then the rest of them opted out.
Their schedule wasn't tremendous. There were several teams that were right around their caliber that had better schedules. And Bama was one of them. Texas was one of them.
I agree.
But Ed may be right. If Jordan don't go down, then I don't know. I think they might have still found a way to get him out of there, but they may have made it in. I mean, it's really hard to call at that point.
There was no way they was going to leave Saban out of the CFP in his swan song. I don't believe no matter what.
But they didn't know it was a swan song. I don't believe they knew that.
Or maybe they did know.
It's possible.
Yep.
Well, but you lose. They lost one game to another playoff team, and they beat Georgia. So they were getting. You're not leaving the SEC champ out. It could have been Texas that was left out.
Yeah, it could have been Georgia got in and Bama too.
Oh, yeah.
And I think if any team had a gripe, it was Georgia.
Yeah.
I mean, Georgia was on I don't remember what their win streak was. It was incredible, and they had won back-to-back national championships.
25 games, wasn't it?
They lost one game to a very good Alabama team. I mean, they definitely had a gripe. They were number one. Why should they have fallen further than 4?
I don't get that either.
Especially when a few years before that, Bama did that. They lost and they still got in because they had that same. They've been undefeated. They've been the best of the best. They beat half the teams that are up to get in, so we can't leave them out. But then you leave Georgia out like 2 years later.
But I know why that happened that year, and that was because and Alex Bryan will be irritated at me for saying this, but truthfully, Ohio State is the one that let Alabama in because they got fucking killed by Iowa. And I believe that a 2-loss if they would have played Iowa close, I believe they would have become the first 2-loss team to get into the CFP. Now I'm talking about Ohio State that year.
Yeah.
How about their coach getting suspended a game?
You talking about Urban?
No, Kirk Ferentz.
Ferentz.
He got suspended for a game for some kind of, I guess, tampering with Cade McNamara.
Yep.
Damn.
I mean, I know Mac Truck is probably very interested in this, but this is the first I've heard of it, and I don't see that it makes any difference. I mean, their defense is the only thing that shows up anyway. So
their offense is going to be better. McNamara, he can play.
It can't be any worse. That's for
so. We're talking about the first game he suspended.
I guess
I
it's the
believe.
first game. I think they
Well,
said that. I just read about it earlier today. I mean, it
Yeah, it
makes
just came out.
who's
I'm
their
gonna look
first
at that.
game?
headline.
CS
I'm
opponent.
gonna
Who
look at that.
cares?
Let's see.
Sean.
Kurt Ferentz
Yes.
suspension.
I didn't know Sean
Yeah,
was here.
Sean. Well, he is now. He just
I had
popped
to,
in.
I had,
Well,
I had to restart my router and everything. I apologize for tardiness.
Oh, that's
Boy,
all
Okay,
right.
now we can ask Google.
It says
no, we're
Iowa
going to ask
coach.
Sean. We'll ask Sean. Sean, who is Iowa's first game?
Illinois State. It's an FCS opponent. Doesn't matter.
Are,
It's a
are
one
we talking
gamer.
about? So we're talking
Yep.
about the coach is out for that game.
Yeah, it's Kirk Ferentz. He's out for game one. It's against Illinois State, which is an FCS opponent in Iowa City. It's much to do about nothing. Move
Yeah,
on.
it's
You know,
not
other
it's
than
not
it's a
even that it's not even a strong FCS opponent either.
right. It's more of the NCAA decided to clap down on Ferentz for making a few phone calls to Cade McNamara before the portal got open. Okay,
No, I
great.
was saying on their page that they're self-disciplining me. I'm seeing a little bit of
Yeah,
spin in it.
that's spin. That's
Yeah, that's what I
spin. I
thought.
mean, that's all it is. It's spin.
Yeah.
And then the gripe from the Michigan people is, well, Harbaugh got this much because he bought a kid a cheeseburger and they were illegally, there's more to it than the Michigan man wants to let you know that, about Harbaugh buying a kid a cheeseburger. There's a
And
lot more
maybe
coming.
that's why
There's
he
a
got
lot more coming down the road, coming down the
is they
pike.
kind of have to follow
Allegedly.
that.
Yeah, okay. We'll do air quotes for asterisk Ed, allegedly, but
That's
um,
probably why he ended up getting suspended, is because they kind of have to save face after the whole Michigan thing. If we're going to suspend and we're
there's
going
gonna be
penalty,
more of this.
yeah,
The only thing the NCAA can do now, because they're sort of a powerless entity, is they can suspend players and coaches for games. That is their one last trump card they have in the deck.
Yes.
And so you're going to see more of this because of, let's call it what it is, the tampering, illegal recruiting of players before the portal opens, because obviously teams want better players. Some players we know are going to transfer if they don't play at certain locations they start at. And so this is the only way the NCAA can get a look at us. We're still here. We're still sort of relevant. And Cade McNamara wasn't very good. If he was, Michigan would have used him the 3 years he was there. They didn't, because he's not
They
very
did.
good. He's no. They did. Come on, don't. Are
They
we gonna
did
have a
use.
real
Wait, whoa,
discussion,
whoa,
Ed, or are
whoa,
we gonna have a
whoa.
fake discussion? If he was that good, he would have beat out McCarthy. He couldn't, and McCarthy's not very good either.
He did beat out McCarthy. McCarthy was a true freshman. McNamara led him to the Big Ten title. McNamara started the next season. The battle was close. The minute he got hurt, he was done, and McCarthy was in.
McCarthy is more mobile. McNamara is a statue. He's not
not
very
real
good, and he
mobile.
has a weak arm. So let's lay all the cards on the table, Ed.
Right.
Stop.
He was a very good game manager, and he's better than anybody
Game.
else that Iowa's had in a while.
Well, that fits in perfectly for Iowa.
Who is that guy in the early '90s at Notre Dame that they were so high on, but he didn't have much of an arm? Damn, I forget that guy. Anyway, he's got to do the same thing that guy did. I know that this guy is. I can't remember his name, but he didn't have much of an arm. He was high, but he was a pretty good decision maker. And that's all Iowa needs, is somebody to hand the football to the running back and occasionally complete play action.
And to Ed's point, Iowa getting better on offense. Like, give me a percentage. Like, it's not much to be better on offense in Iowa. I mean, I gave you the graphic where they beat a team with a field goal and 2 safeties.
Yep,
I mean,
10% better would be fine. If 10% better for Iowa would have made a drastic difference.
If you beat a team 7-3, and your 7 points came from a field goal and 2 safeties,
I'll tell you what.
If you get the ball past midfield, I would assume that's being better on offense, because
The definition of Iowa's offense being better, which will be the case, is that they will be watchable.
That's a
Now
bold.
not
That's a bold.
ringing
That's a, to me. That's a
endorsement.
bold proclamation.
Will
'Cause I
Iowa
don't.
pass for 3,000 yards?
I
No.
maybe back in the '80s under Hayden Fry. I don't know.
No, he
When they
won't.
had who was the they did have a quarterback in the '80s that was in the Heisman like top 10.
Chuck
Um,
Long.
Chuck Long,
Chuck
yeah,
Long,
thank
yeah,
you,
that was like
thank you. So
16.
maybe Chuck Long or their Heisman runner-up to Carson Palmer, Brad Banks in what was that, '02? Yeah,
That's about
and which ironically they played each other in the Orange Bowl, and USC and Carson Palmer absolutely slapped Iowa.
Oh yeah,
Um,
they did.
but other than those two, I mean, a 3,000-yard passer in Iowa City, that's a great question, Dr. Ball, but
The
it's not
reason it
happening.
won't happen
It's
is
not
because
happening this
their
year.
defense is good enough that in the games that they're supposed to win, they'll win, and they won't be throwing the ball that much in the second half.
I mean, the worst thing that happened to Iowa is the Big Ten expansion, and the
Divisions. The
the
fucking
divisions are
divisions.
gone. You don't
Yeah.
get to enjoy the Big Ten worst. I mean, West. Um, and I say that with tongue in cheek.
Right.
You don't get Minnesota, Northwestern, Illinois, Purdue, and Wisconsin. You're gonna have to play the big dogs now, and it's not going to be good for Iowa. This is bad news for Iowa. Right now, Washington, USC are a little, and I'm doing air quotes, a little bit down, but they'll get back up and they'll beat Iowa regularly. Oregon will beat Iowa regularly, and then you have Ohio State, Michigan, and Penn State who beat Iowa regularly. So Iowa better make hay while they can this year. But I mean,
Well,
So the least of their worries, coach being
there's
suspended
still a tough out
but
and a
for the
night
season,
game.
yeah, it's just one game. It's one
yeah,
game. It'll be
but it
fine.
wouldn't matter, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean it's one game. They'll be fine.
Let's go back to eligibility, guys. So for a long time, Doug's been talking about demise of the NCAA, and he's been right pretty much. Whether people like it or not, the Foxes are running the hen house. So
Demise of the NCAA when it comes to FBS football. Let's
right,
Right.
let's narrow
That's
that
right.
in
yeah,
because they still run and own the NCAA men's and women's basketball tournament, and they still own and run NCAA women's softball tournament and NCAA men's baseball tournament.
well, that's all big deals. But as far as college football goes, the only weapon they have to wield now is eligibility. But that's a huge weapon. If you can say the main player is ineligible for a CFP game or so on and so forth, you wield a lot of power over teams. Just with as we see what happened with Florida State, even though it wasn't eligibility, he got hurt. If you take a marquee player out of the mix, right, then that might hurt their CFP chances and/or their seeding. If they
Well,
even that they don't have power in because remember, look at last year when they had suspended wide receiver Tez Johnson from North Carolina for like half the season, and North Carolina like went to court over it, and then immediately, the NCAA didn't want to go to court, so like they went from
No, they don't.
like a 6-game suspension to a 1-game suspension. Like, okay,
But they've
so
been
even
doing
that,
that in college
they
baseball.
don't have power. They don't have power.
They've been doing that in college baseball for a while. I mean, this season, Tennessee's one of their top players was put on the bench because they said he was ineligible because of during transfer, like all of this stuff. But it was legal. There was no issues. They were literally just holding this kid out. Same thing. Tennessee said we're going to court, and never. He went into the game like 2 days later.
Yeah, I mean,
So
so
they're trying it not just with football, but baseball. All these sports they just need to keep their nose where it doesn't belong.
I mean, I'm fine with it with baseball and basketball because they created those championships and we all play for those championships. FBS football has been around much longer than the NCAA has been around. And what FBS football needs, and I think Landon brought it up when he was on a call with us the last time, is simply one, group of 5, you need to go do your own thing. We need to stop with the tomfoolery. Group of 5, have your own. You're in between FCS and you're in between FBS. Just have a group of 5 NIT style playoffs. That's fine. FBS, the Power 4 conferences, we need a FBS czar, a la like Roger Goodell is with the NFL, that we all agree to and we all kind of play by the same rules. That's what we need because we're lacking some sort of left and right boundaries when it comes to NIL, transfer port. That's what we need. And clearly the NCAA isn't doing it. They're not going to do it. So whether it's Greg Sankey or whoever the new Big Ten commissioners, because those are the two biggest, most powerful conferences that wield the biggest dollars. One of those two, I think it's Tony Petitti for the Big Ten. Obviously, Ed can correct me if I'm wrong. But one of those two needs to step up and say, listen, this is the direction of big-time college football. This is the way we're going. This is what we need to do. These are the directions or parameters. That's what needs to happen.
I agree. It has to go like that, or
I would nominate Greg Sankey because he's done so many smart things in his tenure as SEC commissioner. But he's not going to nominate himself, and I don't blame him.
Yeah, he can't do it politically because then it looks like you wanted it. But if
Right.
people come to you, now you're a servant leader,
But Greg Sankey is the smartest guy in power football right now for the college game. So he should be the one that's dictating and driving kind of the things we want to see going forward for the next 10 to 20 years if we want this thing to survive in a somewhat similar fashion to the game that we knew and loved when we grew up for all of us. And I know our ages all vary.
Hell yeah.
I'm old, okay?
Yeah.
I get it.
I didn't get to see a lot of all this.
Because I don't think any of us enjoy, like, every other year seeing this change and that change. And, okay, this is a new rule. And that's a new rule.
It's just completely getting out of hand. I mean, honestly, 15, 20 years ago, we started seeing the change. And now it's something new. I mean, even halfway through the season, we are seeing random stuff come up. And you're like, how is this? We haven't spoke. This has not been in the books. Why is it just now coming, to hand? No one can give you answers, but it's always to weigh in someone's favor.
I mean, partially is all the conferences let TV get out of control with driving their initiatives, directives, whatever you want to call it. We all know, we're all smart enough on this podcast to know that TV drives the dollars. We get it. But at some point, there has to be pushback for the love of the game, for the game that we grew up loving and the way it was structured.
So define pushback, though.
Someone's got to say, like, listen, we're not doing that. Like,
the fans,
what they don't understand is the pushback to the networks is simply, you need us more than we need you, because somebody will televise college football. What the viewers and the fans of college football need to understand is it's such an important part of not only American society, but sports society, the things we do in the fall. Hell, for all CW network, can throw the Gilmore Girls on and then throw on an SEC football game. We'll all be on CW watching it.
Yeah.
Or WGN, or name another crappy network that we all know. We will all go there. Peacock, exactly. We will all go there.
Peacock last year.
We will all go there and watch the game because we all love college football that much. So ESPN and CBS, you're not special. You don't get to dictate the terms of the game. We should dictate the terms of the game. I mean, it's a travesty, and Doug brings this up all the time. It is an absolute travesty that we've had to wait 11 years to see another game between Texas and Texas A&M. That's a joke. That's a joke. I mean, look at the NFL. That would be like me not being, as a Raider fan, able to see the Kansas City Chiefs annually, simply because television told me, well, that's not going to happen.
They're destroying the regional rivalries, and it's a bunch of crap. I mean,
that's where the game was. The regionalness is how the game was. Dr. Balls, imagine if Kentucky couldn't play Louisville for 12 years.
Oh, no, they had to go to the governor. They tried that shit, and the governor mandated it. Now they have to make it go on. because we demand to see that
Isn't
game.
isn't that sad though that you had to go to the legislature to make a game happen? I mean,
Yeah,
like,
yeah, it's
But they need to do
ridiculous.
it like hockey. So you've got so many games that are nationally televised, CBS, NBC, ABC, whatever. And then the rest of the games you can stream on ESPN Plus. And they're doing that with
we're
smaller
all
schools.
willing to pay. I have to pay to see Notre Dame play Louisville on Peacock this year. Is
That's
Peacock going to
bullshit.
get $4.99 out of me?
Well, look how much they paid just
Yeah.
for the NFL package with YouTube.
Oh,
But
they
see,
And I'm
tabulated
just
this year.
paying
If you wanted to,
$11 a month. I'm good with that.
if you want to see every NFL regular season game this year off the like 6 different platforms they're on, it's something like $600 plus.
Jesus
It's
Christ, man.
$129 a month.
Yeah.
Guys, when I tell you I seen Iowa and Michigan play in 1985, I didn't pay a nickel for it. I had rabbit ears, right? You know, the SEC game of the week was
You had rabbit ears and tinfoil, Dr.
yeah,
Ball.
and
You got that? Get that tinfoil out.
Jefferson Pilot Sports showed me 90% of the SEC games I ever seen, or it was the local network. It wasn't it wasn't the Wildcats network, well, you know, on KYT in Lexington, whether it was Ohio State, the Buckeye Network, right across the river. You could pick it up on local TV. I mean,
Who remembers Raycom? Remember Raycom
oh,
Sports?
absolutely. Raycom Sports was a
Yeah.
huge deal, and I've seen uh,
Dakota.
NC State and Duke and the pivotal matchup to the damn. It's a locally televised game coming out of Huntington, West Virginia, in like 1983, in the year the NC State won it. That was a big day, and it was on Raycom Sports. You know.
We'll pay. We'll to get whatever network that we'll pay. They know they got us by the short hairs. We're gonna pay. We're gonna watch unless you're Doug and he knows a guy who knows a guy who has a a
Then maybe
satellite
he'll
up at.
introduce us to those because what I already
Now hold on, that was Madden that
That
always
was bad, and yeah.
talked that shit. But
I'm
hey, I actually am the guy, but I wasn't talking about it.
I'm just kidding, Doug. I'm
can you
just giving you a
introduce
little
us
grief
to him because what we paid
because I do it
streaming
too.
is crazy.
I knew you were the guy.
We had games last year on Apple Plus.
Yeah,
Jeez.
I mean Apple Plus, Peacock, Paramount. Help me out. Amazon Prime. Hell, Netflix is probably going to jump on soon. I mean, you're going to have so many different.
Nickelodeon shows football games.
Right, Nickelodeon was showing.
Nickelodeon.
That's a hell of a great point. Hell of a
And
great
I'm sitting
point.
here like the first time they did it, they mic'd up the players. It was
I mean, so
F-bomb after
we the
F-bomb.
fans will go wherever. I mean, we'll go wherever the games are on, but the conferences themselves need to push back and say, we're tired of, every few years we're going to
Guys
change
want to
this, we're going to change that. It's going to be this, it's going to be that. We want to get back to, particularly college football fans who are of our age. I would say age 35 and north. We grew up when the game was special, when it was a regional game. When you had 8 to 9 conferences, and the conferences made sense.
When Alabama played,
We got Cal and Stanford going to
What if like each
Virginia Tech.
conference had their own? Okay, so we have the SEC network, but we don't get all of the games. But what if the SEC network broke it down kind of like ESPN does, and it has like SEC 1, 2, 3, so all of the games are shown, and you pay for that package instead of paying for like every package. You can kind of pick and choose.
Well, that way they don't make as much money. What you're saying makes sense. The reason they don't do it that way, to make it a la carte, like you're at a buffet. I want some beef. I don't want the chicken. No, they want you to pay for all of it, even though you don't get all of it.
But that's
how many
the
people are
thing
going
is
to
if
tune in
you're
Kentucky and Vanderbilt? You know
football,
what I'm saying?
Right. I mean, that's the thing. So if you're paying for it, you're paying for all of it, and you'll get Kentucky, Vanderbilt. No offense, Dr. Balls. 90% of the people don't want to watch Kentucky and Vanderbilt. You do because you're a big Kentucky fan, but nobody wants to watch that.
If you're paying for it, how many of
Well,
us?
nobody wants to watch Vanderbilt against anybody.
No, but the SEC is, and I don't blame them. I appreciate this about the SEC. They're standing strong. We're not jettisoning, and I'm sure the networks are like trying to push them. Get rid of Vanderbilt. I give credit to the SEC. We're not getting rid of Vanderbilt. They're an original member of the conference. They bring other things to the table. I know their football isn't very good, but they bring a lot of other things to the table that make the conference better. And also, by the way, they're in Nashville, which is a hell of a city.
A hell of a market.
Yeah.
But let me tell you guys how to get all the college football you want for free. And all you got to do is have an imagination. And it's called AM radio.
Here we go.
AM radio, right? I listened to AM radio, especially when I was doing phone work and I'd have to work on the weekends. I'd be in the bucket truck. I could listen to the regional radio I wanted, hear the commentators I wanted, Kaywood Ledford or Tom Leake's voice of the Wildcats, the voice of the Buckeyes, the voice of the Thunder and Herd, right? And any national games, on and on and on. And I was listening to games all day long. I had 6 different channels dialed in where I could go from one college football game to another. I said, well, let's check Ohio State and fucking Penn State. Let's check Kentucky's game. Of course, obviously I would be on it. So on and so forth. And because of the distance and the ranges you're getting out of AM, I was getting Tennessee volunteer football, and I'm hearing their take on it. Yeah, next week we got Kentucky, but we don't really believe they got the talent because it's all Homer radio. When you listen to Homer radio, you feel where people are really at. So I'm listening to Homer radio, and it's Tennessee. Yeah, next week we're going to play Kentucky. They beat us in 24 years. And we're going to do them this way and that way. Not shit. And then I go back to the Kentucky game, and Tom Leach said, yeah, we feel like we're really good chance against the Volunteers. Right? We think that we've got this and that, and we're going to handle them. Right? So you get the whole gamut of how people feel about this stuff instead of the same guys on ESPN. So sometimes I listen to AM radio while I'm watching the game.
That's what I was about to say. I have done that so many times the last few years because I didn't want to hear the commentators, especially when we're on the SEC and have Beth. I will mute the TV and put Gator Radio on.
Hey, we won't take any Beth Moen slander on this podcast. Not a one. We love Beth. She's a gem to the game there, Nikki. Come on.
I can't do it.
Can't do it. Hey, but to Dr. Balls' point, I completely agree with you on that, and I will give 3 points to it. Number 1, if you want to listen to what I like to call, hometown homer radio, everyone should be downloading the Varsity app because you can generally find your college team on the Varsity app and listen to their game with your hometown broadcasters on it. That way, if you're not, in the radius of your actual AM broadcast, the Varsity Network usually has it, and I think it has just about every SEC on it. So Varsity app is a great app. Number 2, that was one of the few things SEC Network has done lately that was really good, was that 30 for 30, talking about each SEC team's, like longtime hometown broadcaster. Obviously the biggest name was Munson from Georgia, but they did all the schools and their broadcasters. So that was a great 30 for 30, on SEC Storied. And number 3, I completely agree with you, Dr. Balls. Like, that's how each fan base, kind of grew up and loves their team. Like me, as a Notre Dame fan, like Tony Roberts on Mutual Westwood 1, like you never didn't know how the Irish were doing when he was doing the broadcast. Now we got some Jamoke who does it and he sucks. It sounds more like an NFL broadcast than anything. We got to be neutral. We can't show our feelings. Like, no, you need that good hometown broadcaster who's rooting for your team. That, and I'm with you. I'm with Nikki. I turn the television down. I turn the radio up. Let's go.
And they go deep into the depth chart. They tell you what's really going on with players, what they think they might do next year. I mean, you really get to know your own team and your opponents. Like if I listen to my opponent's AM, and you got iHeartRadio, you can go out to iHeartRadio and let's just say I wanted Florida versus Kentucky, where I can listen to Gainesville radio and see what they think about what's going on, And they
y'all's experience when y'all do this, is the radio typically ahead or behind? I know it's not. It's
ahead. There's no delay.
No, well.
So you get to hear the touchdown before you see it.
If it's a national broadcast, the TV is going to be ahead of the radio. If it's a national broadcast, if it's regional, then it's not.
Right. So I know what's going to happen if I'm watching the radio. Like I hear a touch. If I go to the bathroom real quick and I hear touchdown Kentucky, I go to the TV and then they run the play. And it could be a big bunch of heartache too. I remember when Kentucky was playing Alabama a few years ago. I think it was last year, and we had a guy we called Boss Man Fat. I can forget what his real name was, but he's a hell of a quarter. He went to the NFL, had played at LSU, and transferred. And man, he had like 2 opportunities for pick sixes. Our defense had Alabama. This is early in the game. Had Alabama pinned way back in near their own end zone, and he had 2 opportunities for pick six. And I thought that was what was going to happen, and what was going to happen. And what happened was that he didn't get it. So I went to the bathroom. Next thing I know, Alabama scored, and I heard it on TV. And I was heartbreaking.
I think I remember that game, Bob.
Yeah, and
Alabama won convincingly, but it was really rough early in the game.
Yes, and we had one near pick six, another one he just let it drop out of his hands, and I thought those are the ones we want if your pairs are played off. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But that was
hell in a group chat. I sent, just because I love to, send my good buddy Asterisk Ed fun clips. I sent him that great clip from the 1980 Michigan at Notre Dame game, where first you have Michigan play-by-play broadcaster Ufer calling it, and then he gets Tony Roberts' call, and Harry Oliver at the gun, a 53-yard field goal. It's up, it's good, the Irish win.
Oh, well, the best football broadcast I ever heard, guys, was the Gasparilla vote, which I know means nothing, and it was Marshall, and I forget who Marshall was playing, and I was watching it on TV too. And what was that guy's name? That he was great. He was a decent NFL quarterback, and he broke his leg, and they were carrying him around, right?
Byron Leftwich,
and they were carrying Byron Leftwich around, dude, from play to play with like a broken leg. And the Homer broadcaster was losing. He goes, "Look at this guy, the toughness, the fortitude."
Ed's been coughing in the back. You remember that game, right, Ed? When Harry Oliver broke your heart at the gun?
Yeah.
And you for your guy, your normal Michigan play-by-play guy, Notre Dame wins it, and he got the score wrong. His heart was so broken. 29 to 27 was the final score. Yeah, and
he just broke his heart again.
God stopped the win that day because it was a fierce win. And when Harry Oliver set up to kick this 53-yard field goal, the wind stopped. And the ball just barely dribbled over the crossbar, and Notre Dame won the game.
So we know if the wind was blowing, it wouldn't have worked.
You're right. No, if the wind was still up, Harry O wouldn't have made that kick. And God rest
because
his soul.
like you said, with no wind, it just barely made it.
Barely made it. Yeah. No, it was under the shadow of touchdown Jesus, and
that's what I was going to say. Jesus helped it through.
He didn't want to see Michigan win that day.
Guys, you don't know how powerful unless you see that in person. And I was working in South Bend just 4 or 5 months ago. And I drove by there, and you can see it. And his arms are stretched out. It's just so powerful, man. What a home field advantage thing to have going on,
I mean, and South Bend is generally a windy place because it's not far from Lake Michigan, and they do get a lot of lake effect snow late in the season. So when the wind stops, it's kind of an eerie feeling when you're in the bowl in Rockne Stadium. Because usually it's pretty windy, similar to if you go up to Lambeau Field in Green Bay. It's very windy there, but then when the wind stops, it's kind of like whoa, that's weird. Why is there no wind? Same with Soldier Field's another one because it's right on the lake, So usually it's just kind of windy all the time, and then if there's no wind, you're like, oh, this is weird.
Where were they at? Where Brett Favre was throwing the ball into the wind and it came back to him?
That was Green Bay. That was Lambeau Field. Yeah,
that's what I thought.
He made the throw and the catch.
He did. He did. Well, the greatest example of this is the Bears against the 49ers when it's Soldier Field. I want to say it's 2003, 2004. And the kicker kicks the ball, the field goal kicker kicks the ball. It's going like perfectly between the uprights. And a gust comes off Lake Michigan and blows it way right of the goalpost. at the right time to make him miss the kick. You go, well, that's football on the Great Lakes. I mean, it's happened in Cleveland. It's happened in Buffalo. Even to a lesser extent, it happens in Pittsburgh because they're on the three rivers. But yeah, you just never know what's kind of going to happen in that part of the country at that particular time of the year.
So
that's
that's
why the running game is so important. Unless you have a quarterback with Buffalo, they got Josh Allen. He's got an arm that's a cannon. But for most teams, it's incredibly hard to throw the football in those areas as you get towards the end of the year. I mean, look at Michigan. I mean, they didn't trust their quarterback against Penn State, so they ran the ball 43 times in the second half. But he's a good coach.
So, Sean, we haven't jumped into this yet, but I guess there's only really one big game this week, and how do you feel about it? Talking about the Ireland game between FSU and Georgia Tech.
I'm excited for it. Who isn't excited for it? We haven't had football since the Michigan Washington National Championship game.
Well, it's like Ed said earlier. You can't really for sure know that Georgia Tech is not going to rise to the occasion and make this a game.
The line is invariably, if you look at Vegas, either 10, 10.5, 11, or 11.5. You can choose your gambling source at your leisure.
Georgia Tech 20.
But seeing the clips from social media today, it looks like Florida State has traveled strongly. They were outside of one of the pubs in Dublin doing the chant, as we all are aware of. But what I go back to is Georgia Tech has done a very good job of mining the portal. I think they have a good head coach there that's trying to, turn Georgia Tech around. And I think Georgia Tech's going to be game. I think Georgia Tech covers. I don't know if they necessarily win, but I would be inclined to take the points that Vegas is giving, and I'm going to go with the Rambling Wreck to lose by a field goal because this game has always been close historically, and I'm going to go with Georgia Tech. They're going to lose, but they're going to lose by 3.
FSU may have Georgia flashbacks, Sean.
I hope they do. I hope they do. And you know what? I'm not so in love with, they got DJU at quarterback, and we've seen him bungle it numerous times in the past. Who's to say he doesn't get cold feet again and bungle it? Maybe throw an interception and maybe fumble the ball once in the game.
Yep. So he's one of the quarterbacks on that I never understood why they kept trying to run all the so much spread. Not spread option, but the old school spread concepts through him, where he was getting rid of the ball quick and stuff like that. Because it wasn't really working for him. If I was them, I would.
Well, Bob, what confuses me about it, you got a quarterback who's supposedly 255 pounds who doesn't want to run it.
There you go.
So you're a big kid. You can run over people, and he doesn't want to run.
But they said he's afraid of it.
Why are you? You're bigger than most of the people that are going to tackle you. Why are you afraid to run the ball? Run the ball. Lower the shoulder.
Jared Lorenzen, right? They should have
done. I love the hefty lefty.
Oh, rest in peace.
Rest in peace. Yeah.
Rest in peace. He died. But when he was playing college football, guys, he had the green light to run anytime he wanted, right? And he wasn't scared of nobody. I'm taking off.
But Bob, he had a better arm than DJU. He was more active.
He had a better arm than almost
interviews of DJ out there saying he's afraid of getting hit.
That's what I'm saying. Shouldn't he be plowing people over like 10
So why are you playing FBS football then if you don't want to get hit? Like, what are we doing here? Like, exactly. If you want to get to the NFL, you're gonna get hit. Like, that was the one thing that made Tom Brady the GOAT, is Tom Brady never feared contact. He knew he was gonna get hit. But he wasn't afraid of it. And that's part of playing the quarterback position is you're going to get hit. Can you still make the correct decision and then get hit and get up and play the next down? And in DJ's tenure at Clemson and at Oregon State, this kid doesn't want to get hit. You cannot play football scared. You cannot.
I agree. You have to. If I had a guy like him, I'd want to run a lot of read option with him, and especially up the middle, like the old triple I stack where I was faking it to the fullback to see what would happen, and he just followed him and shit like that. I mean, that would do a lot of good. But I don't believe Norvell. I'm looking at Norvell, and I feel he can recruit, and he's got some decent concepts. But to tell you the truth of it, I don't believe that he engenders any loyalty in his team, and that they just don't have a esprit de corps that it's all about them against the world. I just don't see a Norvell
Bob,
being
we saw that last year. It was hired guns, and when push came to shove, they left.
Yeah,
They left.
yeah.
You know, so if he couldn't convince them to play in the bowl game out of
And I
pride
think
and
a lot of
love for your university,
they thought he was jumping ship. They thought he was. I mean, the
well,
word on the street was your coach is going to Bama.
but he hadn't been there that long, Nikki. I mean, where
Oh,
is
I
he going
know,
to go?
but those are the rumors. And who's going to turn down a Bama job?
Well,
I don't think anybody thought Norvell was going to Alabama.
nah.
Even
I mean,
FSU.
Doug can tell us rightly or wrongly on that, but I don't think anybody outside of the Bama circles thought Mike Norvell was leaving Florida State for Alabama simply because he doesn't have the experience. I think if anybody from the ACC you thought was going to Alabama, it was Dabo because he
Hello.
played and coached there,
Right.
under Gene Stallings.
Well,
And if
that's one
Dabo's
that
not going there, damn sure
people
Mike Norvell.
folks act like that he was interviewed, but I don't think he was.
I don't think he was either. So to me, it was a
Guys,
it was
you
it was
watch
a
him play?
re-recruiting of your own players to play in the bowl game, to have some pride in your program, and he couldn't do it.
Right.
You saw they lost 27 players before that bowl game.
My God.
To me, that's not building a culture.
That is a perfect situation. Okay, so you've been disrespected by the committee. You've got a game against another team that was disrespected and was arguably probably still the number one team.
And
even though they lost.
Doug, correct me if I'm wrong, but Kirby managed to bring most of his players to that bowl game.
Absolutely, but Florida State had
Mike Norvell
such an
couldn't bring-
opportunity that day.
Yeah, they had such an opportunity, and if he was such a good program builder, culture builder, you couldn't keep 27 of your players to go play one more game. Now
You know what? They go out and they beat Georgia. They go out and beat Georgia close. They don't even have to talk about it anymore. Everybody else would have been talking about it.
You would have had a national narrative of college football fans from the East Coast all the way to the West Coast if Florida State had brought their players back and beaten Georgia, even close, even by a field goal, even by a safety. You would have had everyone ringing the bell for Florida State. And when they didn't show up, particularly with 27 of their players, first line, second line, it showed you don't really give a shit. This was all smoke and mirrors.
We're talking about the first game out.
Yeah. No, it proved that this is part of the NIL transfer portal silliness of these were all kind of hired guns. You had a great season. I'm sorry, we're not feeling bad for you because you lost a quarterback. Lots of teams lose quarterbacks.
Next man up.
Yeah, next man up. And if his culture was that good at FSU, they would have had a next man up. Let's go. No, you barely beat Louisville, who isn't a very good team. They got housed by USC in, I think, the Holiday Bowl. That just proves you're a hired gun. And that team was a bunch of hired guns. It's not truly a culture. What Kirby has built,
if Florida State comes back this year and they have a great year, then they compete in the bowl game.
They've done it again through the portal. That's all they're doing. Is just
right.
It's just building through the portal, and you're paying money to get players. That's all you're saying.
If we see something positive at this point, then I'll say maybe I was wrong, but I don't believe that's coming.
I have more faith. Crazy as this sounds, and Dane will love this when he hears it. I have more faith in Dabo building it the way he's building it because he's at least trying to build a culture in his program.
I agree.
You know, that
He's
we
sticking
want.
to his
We're
guns.
not recruiting you for a year. We're recruiting you for 4 years. We have faith in you building the culture of this program. Not just, okay, I need a guy at linebacker and I need a guy at corner. Okay, I'm going to pay you more money from this school and you more money from that. I mean, look at what Hugh Freeze is doing right now with Auburn. That's all it is. It's hired guns. And that's why they're not going to be successful because there's no culture in the program. And culture, When you've been with a guy for a year, 2 years, 3 years, I know this guy's got my back. That's what builds champions. That's why Nick Saban was so successful.
I agree. I mean, you knew when you come in, this is what the program was.
These are the expectations. This is the standard. You either meet the standard or you get out of here. And those that stay are going to be champions.
And everybody else
Okay,
is
guys,
to meet those kind of standards.
Real quick, I'm looking over the schedule this week. I'm trying to figure out when we go live this week. If we're doing it on a football night, it needs to be Thursday probably, but there is a North Carolina-Minnesota game that night.
I think, Doug, I think we do Fridays. I think Fridays is the best.
Okay, so Friday we're going up against TCU. And no, that's a late game.
That's the late game.
We'll avoid that one. Yeah, there's nothing. I mean, we'll get to talk about Temple and Oklahoma a little bit.
I've looked at the schedule. There's really only one Friday where there's a halfway decent game. The rest of them are all kind of. Y'all disagree with me, but
we can all wear purple.
Well, I'm rooting for TCU, except for when they play SMU, Nikki.
Generally speaking, Friday nights is Group of 5 ball.
Yeah, it's Group of 5. Ed is absolutely right. He's right for once as a Michigan.
And Friday Night Lights.
Hey, like a clock twice a day.
Okay, so we've covered Florida.
And Ed, I do owe you a little bit of an apology.
Oh my God!
I'll give you a little apology. After watching preseason football, okay, Washington will be better than trash. They will be middle class. They will be middle class.
It's about right. I'm thinking 9-8.
I would temper that. I would go 7-10, but that's still an improvement from where you've been.
Well, yeah, I think that the new I mean, for all of his reputation as Riverboat Ron, he was lax in Washington.
Yeah.
And Dan Quinn is not that.
No, Dan Quinn is a much better hire than Riverboat Ron. I give you that. And also, Jaden Daniels will be up there in the running for Offensive Rookie of the Year. He won't win it. Good. He won't win it because Caleb Williams will win it. But
and I won't argue with that.
But Washington will not be. I initially had them at 4-13. I think they will now be 7-10.
Okay.
So I owe you a slight apology of that. Dallas will let Nikki down as always because Dak is still the starter.
They haven't because they beat your Raiders already. So
they
don't even have a quarterback. You could talk about Nikki, Dak. You don't even have a quarterback.
Nikki, me not having a quarterback and you having Dak will still get us to the same place. Not the Super Bowl.
And speaking of the Raiders, they're on in like 4 minutes.
Yeah, I'm not going to watch because none of our starters are playing, so I'm not watching.
I'm going to watch.
You don't even have any starting quarterbacks yet.
And yet you guys do, and you still will be watching the Super Bowl on the couch like we will.
You don't know that.
Gardner Minshew's not bad.
Oh, Nikki.
I love Minshew.
Nikki tells me I don't know that, but really, her and I, wink, wink, we know that. Your Cowboys are not getting to the Super Bowl.
If that's the case, you guys should just play Minshew so that we can enjoy watching him. And we can have Raiders Minshew Nation.
I don't care who we play at quarterback because we're not going anywhere. The only thing that matters is that we lose a lot of games so we can have a good draft pick. That's where I'm at this point. But are you ready for this for 17 weeks minus your bye week? Here we go. Every time Dak takes the ball in the center, here we go. And then Jerry going, well, we're not really concerned with signing CeeDee Lamb. You're not really concerned with signing one of the top 3 receivers in the NFL, really? Okay, well, good on you, Jerry.
I think they've already got that worked out.
Yeah, well, you got to still sign Micah Parsons too.
Publicity now.
Either way, the Cowboys will make the playoffs. They will let their fans down, as they always do, and they'll cry and whine, and Stephen A. will talk about them, and that'll be that.
I don't cry.
Right.
Used to it.
Sean, do you have anything to add about SMU and Nevada? I know you're a SMU guy.
Big SMU guy. I think SMU rolls Nevada. I think SMU, I agree with Ed. Ed and I have talked SMU extensively in the offseason. I think SMU is a dark horse, no pun intended. I know they're the ponies, the Mustangs. But they have, what a lot of our listeners don't know. They have. We're in the NIL, generation now. They have billionaire donors at their disposal that have been waiting since.
So those ones that got them in trouble in the 80s.
Yeah, those people still have money, Doug.
Or
Yep,
Surprisingly,
and they can do this legally now.
and now it's legal, right?
Right.
It's now legal. I will tell you that, assuming there are no guardrails put on NIL or whatnot in the next 5-10 years, people better get used to hearing SMU, and SMU is going to get talent. Now they're back into a power conference, albeit it's the ACC. I know, because the Big 12 was scared of them, because of the money they have, like behind the scenes. They have like 3 or 4 billionaire donors. So
I guess
if
they've
you're
been waiting to be in the right position, right?
that have been waiting to be in the right position, now they are. They're in a power conference. They are going to make hay in the ACC. It might not be this year, might not even be next year, but trust me, the Pony Express is coming, and the only thing that can even make them better is if they move those home games from their small little stadium on campus to Jerry's World. Tell me, a high school kid, you're going to get money, big money, and you're going to get to play where the Cowboys play, and it's going to be on national TV. You mean to tell me that's not enticing to a great
It
3,
is.
4, 5-star
But
recruit?
the other thing about the
Oh,
Nevada
and by
game
the
is
way,
that
it's close to home, because what we know, the 3 biggest states when it comes to high school recruiting are Florida, Texas, and California.
right. But the other thing about that game is that Nevada sucks.
And also Nevada. So yeah, that is absolutely right. Yes.
All right. So on that note, let's prepare for our tailgate tomorrow. I guess we'll do a half tailgate tomorrow, right?
Yeah. Hey,
one for Georgia Tech.
And don't
we're rooting for Georgia Tech. We're rooting for SMU, and then the other games we're just gonna,
Go Texans. We got to cheer for Tarleton.
I'm just surprised. The one thing I'm surprised is that neither Vanderbilt nor Hawaii are playing tomorrow, because usually they both like to play the earliest of early. Yeah, get the game out of the way. It's early August, or end of August, but early in the season, So
if didn't Vanderbilt beat them really bad one time?
Oh,
Vanderbilt people thought that they were going to the SEC championship game.
They did.
Was it a year before last?
I think you're right, Nikki.
Okay, I mean, Doug. Okay, you're a Bama fan, and Nikki, you're a Florida fan, and Bob, you're a Kentucky fan. But doesn't you have a little bit in the bottom of your heart for like 1 year, just 1 year, for all of it, like Vandy doing good in football? Come on.
It wouldn't bother me to see it, Sean.
Okay, so that's Doug.
No, because what 3 fans I know that are Vanderbilt fans,
Jared Rifkin,
so obnoxious.
They haven't been good since the goddamn 1920s.
Exactly. They're not going to change that, because if they had one good year.
You are you're so bitter because Florida is going to be so bad. That's why.
No.
Yeah.
I'm bitter because they beat us, and they tried to storm their field, and they did it in a single file line and went down the stairs.
Well, they did it properly.
Like, that's no.
They were organized.
That's how Vanderbilt does that shit.
They don't wear jorts in Vanderbilt, Nikki.
They have real high IQs there, Nikki.
Well, then they're not cool. You don't wear jorts.
I mean, if I'm Nikki, I'm nervous anyway, because Miami's going to beat that ass the following Saturday.
You know that's not going to happen.
Oh, I know it is. The U owns you.
No.
Oh yeah. I mean, you can go to.
We need to go back to
on
the
that one.
last 3 shows when you said that Miami was going to beat Florida. I mean, Florida was.
He was in a different mood that night, Nikki.
No, I've been saying Miami's going to beat Florida.
Go Canes.
The U, baby. The U.
Hey, so
the
Bob,
most national
championships
of any Florida school.
Dr. Balls is going to pile on here, Nikki, because he's Miami's his second team.
That's right.
And
Hey,
I'm okay.
and if I wasn't a Notre Dame fan, I'd be a Miami fan. So go Canes, go
How
the
can you
U.
be that be your second team?
Because they're a
Like the
private school.
criminals,
They're a private
Catholic
school, just like Notre
criminals
Dame.
that just
They're a private
met.
school with high academic expectations.
So
All
those
right,
are-
guys. I guarantee you, we will start the next show with this discussion.
Oh, it's gonna be good.
All righty.
I love all y'all.
You
See
too.
y'all later.
Let's talk tomorrow.
I
Night, everyone.
Night, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you for supporting Smacking Off the podcast on the X's and O's network. Be sure to keep up with our scheduled live casts and other presentations on Facebook at Smackologists or at Smacking Off, and on our YouTube channel at Smacking Off the Podcast.